As we had almost nothing to lose, we might gain a fortune, said the Wilson family when asked to describe what pushed them to leave rural Missouri and head out west. When news spread around the world of gold on the West Coast, people from all over flocked to California. Every member of this diverse group was hoping to get lucky and get wealthy. Not everyone accomplished this goal, but their actions in trying to do so changed the region forever. The California Gold Rush inspired many young Americans to move west, fueled the establishment of entire cities, and shaped Northern California into an entrepreneurial hub. In the year of 1846, the United States and Mexico are at war. Mexico has most control over California. The majority in the region were Native Americans, numbering at 150,000. The 6,500 Californios were the group with the most power, and there were around 700 foreigners, or Americans. On the 2nd of February, the Treaty of Guadalupe Hidalgo was signed, giving America full control of California. A few more Americans moved out west, and a group of them accidentally discovered gold. This sparked the largest migration in United States history. By 1849, the non-native Californian population had reached 100,000, 2/3 of them Americans. This movement was fueled by Manifest Destiny, the 19th century belief that the expansion of the U.S. throughout the American continents was justified, inevitable, and at the will of God. The New Californians were God's chosen people, and the gold rush was their destiny. John Sutter, a successful Swiss immigrant, had commissioned a few men to build him a sawmill when they struck the first gold in California. And so the rush began. The discovery of gold inspired young Americans to move west. There was the idea of risk and reward, that if people picked up everything they had and went to California, they would be presented with the ultimate reward, gold. The move was often motivated by gold fever, a craze that spread across the states. James Carson began hearing stories about gold in 1848 in his hometown of Monterey. He saw a once put-together acquaintance suddenly in rags, carrying around a bag of gold. The man gloated, "This is only what I picked with a knife." At the sight of the contents inside the bag, Carson became giddy. My legs performed some entirely new movements of polka steps. Piles of gold rose up before me at every step, castles of marble dazzling the eye. In short, I had a very violent attack of gold fever. Within the day, Carson had packed his mule and left for the mines. Another example of people rushing to find gold would be the Wilson family. Even these Missouri settlers heard about the discovery. As Lucena Stanley Wilson had explained, the gold excitement spread like wildfire, even out to our log cabin in the prairie, and as we had almost nothing to lose, we might gain a fortune. We early caught the fever. If a person didn't hear the news by word of mouth, they certainly heard it in the paper. American newspapers teased the get-rich-quick idea. The September 14, 1848 issue of the Philadelphia North American featured a letter from a miner. "Your streams have minnows, and ours are paved with gold," a statement with the intentions of rallying up Americans. Even so, this news did not only attract Americans, but foreigners as well. The Chinese were a huge force in the California gold rush. Iris Chang, the author of The Chinese in America, a narrative story, believes that there were only 50 Chinese in America before the news of gold reached their country. Many of them immigrated to the United States for a better chance of wealth. However, when they arrived, they faced a lot of oppression, being told they could not enter the mines until all of the white men had left. Maintaining their determination to prosper, teams of Chinese people worked together. Chang says there are stories of groups sweeping out abandoned cabins, looking for any gold dust left behind by the white inhabitants. The talk of gold had captivated the world, and everyone was going great strides to obtain it. Out of the tens of thousands that flocked to California, very few were successful. Even so, everyone had hope. Take a man known by the name of N.A. Chandler, who left his wife and children to work in the mines. He wrote his wife a series of letters, keeping her updated on the gold rush. In his first letter, Arrival in California, Chandler sounds extremely optimistic, despite his terrible boat ride. I think I shall like this country very well. Stonecutters get $7 per day on the custom house building. I think I could get a chance there, but must try the mines first. I don't know where I shall stop, but I'm going north first. The young man had no idea what to expect, but was drawn to California by promises of wealth. With the idea of manifest destiny and the gold fever spreading, young Americans were roused to head west. The California gold rush fueled the establishment of entire cities. For example, the current capital of California was originally the property of a single man. It was a walled complex belonging to John Sutter, appropriately named Fort Sutter. However, after gold had been found on his property, an entire metropolis sprung up and was eventually named the most important city in the state. Another great city that developed during the gold rush is San Francisco. Although it had already been established, the mission town's port grew tremendously after the news of gold spread across the country. Today, San Francisco has one of the biggest economies in the world. While the gold rush helped institute many significant cities still around today, it also started up many small towns that have since been abandoned, also known as ghost towns. These towns were built extremely quickly in areas where miners had recently found gold. Bustling with newcomers every day in their prime, these towns were left at a moment's notice when gold was found in a new area. If one were to walk through a ghost town today, they would notice completely furnished houses, stocked stores, and perhaps a table set for dinner. The residents never stayed for long. The most famous example of a California ghost town would be Bodie, a small establishment adjacent to Mono Lake. Today, it is a historic state park, but back in 1859, William Waterman S. Bodie dug up gold on what is now called Bodie Bluff. A mill was built in 1861, and the town started with around 20 miners. By the year 1880, 10,000 people from all different groups inhabited the town, including miners, business owners, robbers, and entire families. Bodie even had a designated red light district in Japantown. Once the mines dried up in the area, all of the citizens left. Even though not every city established by the California Gold Rush remained, they all have a significant spot in history and in the land. The gold rush shaped Northern California into an entrepreneurial hub. Those who traveled west paved the way for the rest of America and were the pioneers of their time. Perhaps the first was John Sutter, the Swiss immigrant who established a domain in Central California. His land included 50,000 acres worth of farmland, orchards, stores, and Fort Sutter. In January of 1848, Sutter hired a group of men to build a sawmill along the American River. Among the hired help was a carpenter named James Marshall. On January 24th, Marshall was inspecting a hole dug for the project and became the first person recorded to find gold in California. After America caught word of the discovery, many people ventured out west in hopes of hitting a jackpot in the mines. However, smart businessmen of the time made money off of the thousands of miners, not the gold. The most famous among them being Levi Strauss. He was 24 upon arrival in San Francisco and brought with him needles, thread, scissors, twine, thimbles, rolls of canvas cloth, and sold tents to miners. Within his first few days in San Francisco, Strauss bought a cart and walked around displaying handmade canvas tents. One day, a miner approached him asking if the canvas material would make for sturdy pants, and, inspired, Strauss took the man and the canvas to a tailor and made pants. After realizing how durable the pants were, the miner told friends, "Doggone it, if a man ever had a pair of pants as strong as Levi's before." The name stuck, and Strauss established Levi Strauss & Co. in 1853. Today, Levi's are known for being very high-quality jeans and are worn by many crowds, from everyday people who find the jeans in a thrift store to supermodels. All of these people thrived thanks to the gold rush. The California Gold Rush inspired an entire population, powered the establishment of entire cities, and turned Northern California into a hub for business and technology. This can be seen through the actions of young Americans who risked their lives and livelihoods in hopes of gold. Get Rich Quick was advertised all across America, and the population was inspired. Entire cities, still prevalent today, were fortified as a result of the California Gold Rush. Sacramento was built around the discovery of gold, and San Francisco was a port that exploded with wealth as a result. The gold rush attracted many entrepreneurs, people who saw an opportunity to profit off of the miners. These pioneers recognized that the California immigrants would need an established market in order to thrive. They were the John Smiths of California, stepping up to do work other than search for gold. Today, California continues to be the place where get-rich-quick kids and entrepreneurs flock to. Living in California is a promise of happiness and wealth. However, those who thrive are usually people who head a technology firm. The people behind Tesla, Google, and Apple all started in Silicon Valley. They are pioneering in a different field, but pioneering nonetheless. The gold rush is remembered by historians as the biggest event of the 19th century after the Louisiana Purchase. It was a pivotal point in American history and fostered the idea of the Wild West. However, most of the public is being educated through tourist traps and roadside attractions. As fun as they may be, they glorify the miners, when in fact, the California Gold Rush should be recognized as a whole.